Hello and welcome to the 2021 SciFam conference panel on power hockey and power sports. My name is Luke Hoban. I'm 25. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I play for the Philadelphia Flyers power play. I've been playing for about 15 years now, and I've had a great time going to a lot of tournaments and having a fun time doing it.
Hi, my name is Liam Miller. I'm also from the Philadelphia area in Doylestown, just outside of Philadelphia. I'm 23. I've been a part of the power play with Luke for, I guess, over a decade now. It's been a long time. I play forward. Pretty much played forward the whole time I've played. And I'm a huge hockey fan, so it's a lot of fun. It's a great time.
My name is Paul Desaulniers. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I am a former player. I played for 19 seasons, and now I'm the president of Panelists Canada and Panelists Toronto, and also assistant coach. I guess I met Luke and Liam back in 2012. I guess like nearly 10 years ago. Yeah, definitely a passion of mine, passion of all of ours.
Yeah, I think we must have met in Ottawa, I think it was, right? In
Yeah, for sure.
Back when me and Liam were little guys.
The good old days.
The good old days. So what drew you to playing power hockey, and how did you find out about your local league, and what was that process like when you were younger?
I guess I was 10, I think it was. My parents were part of a sport group at our local children's rehab facility, and the local power hockey league was starting to do a junior league, and they're looking for young kids that were interested to get involved. And it was Sunday afternoons for 2 hours. And basically the first time that I played, I was hooked. It was like, all right, finally I could do something that I'm good at and I feel that I'm contributing.
So I kind of started as just watching the NHL and kind of got into that as a young kid. It was just something I fell in love with at a very young age, and I was really hooked on the sport. But when I first started watching hockey and kind of experiencing that, I didn't have a power chair. I was still using a walker and still had a lot of mobility. And I guess that was around the 4th grade when I got my first power chair. And I believe it was actually you that hooked us up, because you had heard about the power play and had just started playing. And you and I had our parents had gotten to know each other online a little bit. So, as soon as I got my chair, I was like, all right, I got to go try this. This sounds really cool. And at that time, it was a really small operation. There was probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10 of us. Like it was very, very small. I think we played in a yoga studio, like with all these mirrors. So
Yeah,
it was a very, very tiny room. So, and it's evolved over the years, but in the beginning, it was just like Paul said, it was something new. It was something you could be a part of. It felt good to, work on a team and play with others and have that competitive outlet. So, like I said, it was in 4th grade and I'm 23 now. So it's been a long time, but that's probably how I started.
Yeah, I mean, I that was similar to mine, and thank you for bringing up the competitive nature of it, because I think that that's something that we all share as athletes, is wanting to not just sort of show up and have fun, although obviously you want to have fun, but
Sure.
The competitive side of it is really what gets my juices flowing.
Yeah. And I guess I tried like things like Challenger baseball and those kind of things where they everybody's involved, everybody has an at bat, that kind of stuff, which I think serves its purpose for a lot of different things. But the competitive part is something that's not easy to find within the disability community. So it felt unique to have that outlet to express myself, competitively that way. So I'm lucky we were able to find it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that so often there's sometimes the misconceptions that para sports are not competitive, but really we're athletes. We just do things a little bit differently. The game's slightly adapted to suit us and it enable us to get involved. But the competitive, it's still there, whether that's recreational kind of tournament or the World Cup, like whichever level of play it is, like you're there to win.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I sorry, I was just gonna say I think the one cool thing about our league at least is that we try to balance both. So if you're looking for something that's competitive, you will find it if you put in the work, and that is there for you. But at the same time, if you just want to have fun and kind of play a very casual game, we try and make that work as well.
And even, we try to find that balance at the competitive level too, because I think one of the really cool things about power hockey is that it's not just one type of disability that is sort of permitted or dominates the sport in terms of the numbers, because I think there are certainly a role for a lot of different people. And I know even within CMD, for example, me and Liam have very different roles on our team just because of our physical differences, despite having the same exact disease. And Paul's the same way, where maybe we're not, taking slap shots and, using our strong muscles, so to speak. But, you can take the stick to your chair or sort of use some adaptive equipment to help you level the playing field and get an opportunity to really be competitive in the sport alongside players that have that strength and have that, upper body strength in particular, that may
Yeah,
otherwise be an advantage.
yeah, I think that's really interesting point you make, Lou, because the sports the sport is really inclusive in the sense that it can also grow with you, like as your disease perhaps progresses and your muscles do progress to get weaker. It's okay because there's still a role for you. And it's not a diminished role by any stretch. In fact, I've heard so many people say that it's the defensive minded people that are actually the keys to winning championships. You can't win a championship without those players. You can have all the goal scores you want, but if you don't have that solid defense, then it's not gonna be a championship in your future. So I think just that when I first started playing, I scored goals. I was, you know, MVP, all those sort of things. But then as time went on, things changed. I had to sort of learn to adapt, just like we do in everyday life off the court. You adapt to whatever it is. So how do you just adapt the sport to find a way to still be important?
Yeah, I think that's huge. It's a great point because when I started, I mean, it was Luke and I, and we both played offense, typically against each other, but every now and then we get together and play on the same team. And if I'm being honest, it was a little unfair to the other players because we could score really well and we were good offensively, but now neither of us are that in that role. Luke plays defense and I still play forward, but I'm not, leaned on for goal scoring in any capacity. I let my teammates do that and I just try and get in the other team's way. But I think that is a really good point that, the game evolves, and so do you, but it doesn't mean you're not going to be any less valuable. Your role just might be a little bit different.
Yeah, and so I'm actually going to share a couple clips now while we're talking to sort of demonstrate this, because you'll see a couple players scoring goals who might have that upper body strength, but you're also going to see a lot of players on the floor who are taping their stick to their chair, or who are looking not necessarily playing the ball, but are trying to get in the way and block the shot, and make important plays that might not be immediately noticeable, but for people with diseases like ours, like Paul said, that are more progressive, those are important roles to play, and they give us an opportunity to stay on the floor in important, championship games in some of these cases, that are for all the marbles for the gold medal, that, it's not putting us at a disadvantage, even though we're not as strong physically at first glance. And while I do that, we can talk about, what has been one of the more rewarding experiences of your time in power hockey. Like, when you're watching out these highlights, like what memories do you have in particular that stand out to you from your time playing the sport?
Well, I guess I'll go first, and for sure it's beating Toronto, right, Paul? Wink, wink.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, that was kind of.
I had to get that shot in there. No, but I think some of the biggest things for me, we've already spoke on the competitive nature. I think all three of us are very competitive, and so it's a good way to get those competitive juices flowing. But I think at the same time, it's just being able to work with your teammates towards a better goal. And these highlights you're seeing now, like, we spent weeks and weeks and weeks and months and years practicing things over and over and making sure we're on the same page, and just working really hard to make sure that we play the way we want to play and we play as a team. And it's just a really good feeling when you get to work with other people towards a common goal like that. And it's also been an opportunity for people to kind of have a leadership role and take on responsibilities that you typically wouldn't outside of a competitive situation like this. And I think a lot of those things have kind of led into my everyday, like, regular life, in terms of confidence and just feeling like you're part of something. And I just think there's so many benefits. I could go on forever.
Yeah, I think outside of like just the competitive nature, I think when it comes to like that Friday night or Sunday afternoon, whatever it is, you're playing with your friends, I think just seeing those players that they score their first goal, or perhaps they don't score very often, and just that pure raw excitement, I think it's just something that if you could bottle that and sell it, you'd be rich, because you just can't manufacture that kind of emotion. I think as a better person in the sport, see that just kind of brings back those memories of having your first goal or your first championship or whatever happens to be. And then just see that every year there's always a few people that happens to. That's really a rewarding thing. And it's being sort of assistant coach, management sort of thing. Knowing that that's also an avenue to go down is B. If you're not playing, you're still involved. And for me, that's huge. Knowing that I still have a role, maybe just not physically on the court play.
And you have such
and
a unique
even
perspective on that as sorry, Liam, as someone that's been a player and a coach for such a long time, and with a team that has been successful for a long time in the sport, and like, what have you seen in terms of bringing new people in? Like, what kinds of things do they mention about the reasons that they're joining the sport. Is there any sort of common themes that you've seen?
Just opportunity. I think it's like the social aspect of the sport, not even the sport itself, just off the court. I think it's such a huge thing. Whether that's social between players, but also networking with parents. Like I know my parents, they talk to all their parents as a young player back like 20 years ago. Now they network with those parents. They learned from some of the older ones, and now perhaps it's vice versa. And there's new parents that are there with their young children or young adults, whatever, and they're able to pass on that knowledge, to share their experience, and really emphasize the role that the sport can have in the development of a person on the court competitively, as we talked about, but also just as a human, essentially. And when it's teamwork, as Liam mentioned, working with others. It's mentorship, like peer-to-peer mentorship. That's huge. You know, people learning life skills such as, you know, just navigating life with a disability. How do you do it? Do you see an older person that's gone to college or university? You know, they've got a full-time job. You know, they live independently. All these sort of inherent benefits that just come along with being part of the sport is pretty amazing to sort of see as someone that's not on the outside, but you're on the inside and the outside. Anyway,
Yeah, I think that that's such an important thing, the mentorship, and it's not just something for people with CMD or people with other disabilities. People always talk about sports as a great way to learn these life skills, and I think the idea of teamwork and sort of having people who are in your life that care about you and can sort of show you how things are done is so important. I on our team in particular, there was a large group of us that are around the same age, and I was one of the older members of that group, so I was the first one to go to college. I was not the first player on our team to go to college. I want to be clear, but like among that age group, I was, and then everybody sort of saw my experience and was able to sort of see that it was possible and figure out how it was going to work for them, going to college, and even before that in high school, and navigating adaptive supports and all these life things that we're also familiar with as people with CMD. And I think that that's a really powerful part of being in a sports community for disabled athletes or para athletes, the off the court as much as the on the court.
Yeah, and I was definitely a benefactor of some of the stuff we've just talked about, going to college and preparing for living independently, getting nurses and attendants, that kind of stuff. Because Luke did it first, and then I kind of followed his path, and I, just graduated from college last year, and now I'm kind of in that position where I'm answering questions for some of the younger guys and women on our team that are going to college now and starting to think about that life. So it's really cool because there's a lot of different people on our team of all different ages and different stages of life. It's not, and it's, men and women, boys and girls. So it's kind of all over the place, and you can get what you need in that community, because like I said, there are people at all different stages of life who have their experiences, and it's really easy to kind of pass those along and share those with other people. And yeah, I just from that alone, not even just the hockey stuff, but just meeting people and having that community, I think it was groundbreaking. It was just so important in my development growing up, and continues to be.
Yeah, I think the inclusive aspect of it is so huge. I think it's really kind of hard to put into words, but just like I've had other people ask me before, like, oh, like what's it mean to play a sport? And it's like on a Friday night when you go to hockey, for that hour, 2 hours that you're there, you don't want to say that you feel normal, but you do, because there's no inhibitions. You can be who you are, as you should be all the time, but just no one's gonna look at you much differently. No one's gonna make you feel that you can't do something. In fact, it's completely the other way, and that it's really empowering to know that you are part of this community that fully supports you in whatever struggles you have, challenges, but also your goals. And they want to help you achieve those goals. So just that feeling of inclusiveness, the welcomeness of the community, whether it be locally or internationally, you know, with you guys in Philadelphia, us in Toronto, or whether it's Calgary or Ottawa or, Michigan or Minnesota, wherever it happens to be, we're still just part of that larger community, which is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, no one. I think what you said about sort of not having the emissions is so that stands out to me. Just as this is something that neither of you would remember, but there was an anecdote that jumped into my head of before a tournament game at one point, me and another player on my team had this like set play, this pick that we were going to run, and we before the game I was feeling really tired. My arm was tired, and I came up to him and I said, "Hey man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to do my best, but I'm not sure." And he just looked at me like, "I get it. Like, no worries, we'll make it work." And there was none of that like, "Oh, what are you talking about? Like, you're not going to do this for me?" Like, we're all sort of on that playing field of understanding that, every day is going to be different sometimes, and that we're all doing our best, and we all know our bodies, and can excel in the sport regardless of whatever is going on with our disability off the court or in life. We can all adapt as necessary. I just think that that's such a key thing for all of us. And I'm glad you brought that up. So I think what I want to do now is ask the three, or I was trying to say the three of you, but the two of you and me, so the three of us, about like if you could say one thing to the parents of young kids with CMD who might be interested in power hockey or other adaptive sports, what would you tell them? I know that that's sort of a broad question, but like, what do you see as the most important takeaway from this conversation? And I can go first if you want, because I know that's sort of a big question. So, I mean, for me, one of the main things is that, like with any kid, it's all about, not every activity is going to be for every person, but everybody deserves to at least have the opportunity to try out all these different activities. Like Paul said earlier, opportunity is such a big thing for kids and teenagers, because not everybody knows what they want to do and how they want to spend their time, but a lot of people do like sports. And just because you have a disability doesn't mean you shouldn't have the opportunity to play and have this wonderful community. And it might not be power hockey, and there are plenty of other adaptive sports that exist that I'm not as familiar with the ins and outs of them, but I know that power soccer is very popular. Liam mentioned Challenger baseball, which is a little bit of a different mission statement than some of ours, but nonetheless is very popular. And I'm sure that there are plenty of others that I'm just blanking on right now. But I think that everybody, if they express an interest in it, deserves an opportunity to try out things like this. That would be my main takeaway. Liam, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of echo what you said. I think, the selfish answer would be, if you're listening, please go make a hockey team where you are, because there are not enough of them in our sport at the moment. There's only 3 teams in the US and I don't know, 7 or 8 in Canada. So we're trying to grow. But the generic answer, I think, would be just go try something. Like, there's so many opportunities out there, even if it's not power hockey. Like Luke said, there's other sports. Just give it a shot, see what happens. You might find some really cool people. That was one of the things I wanted to mention earlier, is just all the friendships you make. Sounds corny, but it's true. Like, you get to meet some amazing people, not even locally, but around the country. If you're in a good situation there. I just think, giving it a shot, whether it's hockey or soccer, or whatever the situation is for you and where you live, just try it and see how it works. I think it can't hurt, and it's got so much upside.
I would say, personally, just do it. Don't think, should I, shouldn't I, is it the right thing for, if it's yourself as an affected individual or perhaps your child. Don't think about it. Just try it. Just the worst thing that can happen, you go, you try it, you don't like it, you don't come back. That's the worst. It's be an hour, 2 hours of your time. That's it. So I think just don't think, just do it. And as Liam said, quite frankly, you'll probably find some really cool people who see things the way you see them. And who knows, you might just find yourself 20 years down the road playing power hockey. Don't think that you can't do it. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
That self confidence that you do have abilities. Maybe they're a bit different, but you do. And you can be a valuable part of that team.
And I completely agree with both of you so much. And I think that when we say, try it out and start it, even if it's not something that exists in your area, I can't necessarily speak for how it was in Canada, but for us, like William said earlier, it was literally just a group of people, a group of friends that started playing hockey in gym class, and then it spread by word of mouth to other people in the area who they met at, MDA camp or other, or just through other social avenues who all wanted to play hockey. And there's no reason why you can't do the same in your area, even if it's not something that exists. Find a local park or a local gym that'll let you come in on a Saturday and play a little bit and see how you like it, and do that once a month or a couple times a year, and get things moving from there. You don't have to start big, because you're not. There's no reason why you have to come in and play at the Stanley Cup level immediately. You just have a little fun at first and see how things go, and get your own community started.
I think that's kind of really, sorry, I was going to say,
go ahead.
I think that's a really important thing that you mentioned, Luke, is that it's kind of a misconception of starting a program, is that it has to be like a league. You have to play every week or every other week. It has to be, in a gym, with 20 people sort of thing. It doesn't have to be. It could be, half a dozen people, perhaps, and it's just pick up. And if it's working, that's cool. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. And the cost to get involved is really like minimal. With a ball, a stick, you already have your chair. So
Mm-hmm.
It's really feasible in that sense. You need
Yeah.
a whole bunch of equipment. So
Yeah, and I was just gonna say if I think I speak for all three of us that if that does interest you, please feel free to reach out to any of us. We would be more than happy to help in any way that we can to make sure that that gets started.
So thank you too for joining me today. I had a really nice time talking about power hockey, and hopefully this was useful and enjoyable for members of the community. So I guess this is a Zoom, so we just say goodbye and
wow,
see you
that's
when I
it.
see you. Does that
Yeah,
sound
thanks.
right? Sound
Thanks
right,
for
guys?
having us. This
thanks a
is
lot,
good.
Luke. Thanks
Yeah, it was a
for
good chat.
Go watch some of the other videos in the SciFam portal. All right.
Yes. Go do that.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
doing
See
it.
ya.